2/3 to 75% of women are only sometimes, rarely, or never orgasmic from vaginal stimulation alone. Most of them need additional clitoral stimulation because the clitoris is the hokey pokey. It's what it's all about. So step number 1.
Welcome back to another episode of Girls Gotta Eat.
Welcome back.
Nailed it this week.
You're killing it. We have 2 dogs in the studio today. We are really living the dream.
I tried to put them on our Instagram and they ran under the table every single time.
You didn't pay them.
Like they knew.
They're influencers. Azul's trying to get that money.
George is so cute.
George, our assistant's dog, is a King Charles Cavalier.
He's so cute.
Like Sex and the City. Like Elizabeth Taylor.
I never thought I'd love having all these dogs in the office, but these 2 dogs I love having in the office.
I just had a flashback of my dream last night.
What was it?
And it was that I got confirmed to go watch a taping of the new Sex and the City, an episode. But in the confirmation, it said Samantha is back. This just came to me as I said Sex and the City, and we did Dreams last week, and this like just popped in my head. I remember getting an email confirmation, and like there was a big picture of Kim Cattrall, and it was like, she's back.
That is the dream.
You're confirmed for the taping. Yeah, that is a dream.
They're like, no, just kidding. It's just this toxic relationship that everybody thought was like a good idea, but really it's the worst.
I can't wait to hate watch it.
Oh, I love it. If you guys don't know, I troll every single post on the internet about Carrie and Big. Every time somebody's like, and just like that, I'm like, normalize thinking Big was a fuckboy.
You are a troll. Sometimes I'll see you and I'm like, it's like a top comment. I'm like, it's like I don't even know you.
I was trolling Tom Girardi last night too. I'm all over page 6. So it was like Tom Girardi is in a retirement home and I wrote lock him up.
Oh my God. Rayna's secret life. Secret life of trolls. Secret life of verified trolls.
So if you guys want to see me out in these streets, I'm on the page 6 Instagram a lot.
You know what I just thought about? What? I just referenced Sex and the City. Like everyone has seen every episode multiple times and should know all those references. Like that's not everybody's truth. It should be, but like sometimes I'll get tagged in an Instagram story that's like, just started this show because I heard about it on Girls Gotta Eat, which is fine. These girls are young. Like I started watching Sex and the City like in college. You know what I mean?
Not high school, college.
I mean, it was out probably when I was in high school. I'm just saying I started watching it. I wasn't current when I started watching it. We were like watching DVDs like in dorm rooms.
Yeah.
And then like got current when the like finale or when the final seasons came out. But it's funny because I'm like, oh my God, how could you not know the show? And I'm like, because it was 20 years ago.
20 years ago. Yeah. Also, I feel like I don't remember things that far back. Like you and I rewatched the entire show right before we did our episode, our Fuck You, Carrie Bradshaw episode.
Yeah.
So
like
it's
every episode.
I watched every single episode, every season. So I am like super current.
Like it's ingrained in my brain forever. Like, of course, I'm just like, yeah, Elizabeth Taylor. Like, if it just is the name of Charlotte's dog. Like, everything is like, I don't even have to think of anything. It's all just in there.
Actually, everybody knows. Every week you reference the show. But it's Sex and the City. It's like this thing.
I want to be better about like people like listening and being like, what the fuck is she talking about? You know what I mean?
Every week.
It's every week?
Every week you mention Sex and the City. The listener's like, yeah, actually.
You're right, I do. Okay, well, listen.
100% of weeks.
If you don't know those references, you need to watch every episode so you can get with it.
Nobody's listening to this podcast.
This is a Sex and the City Stan podcast.
I'm like an anti-Stan though. I hate Carrie.
But she taught us a lot of valuable life lessons of how not to live. She was the original. He was the original fuckboy.
Also, I have like a special love for it because Greg Behrendt, who's one of the writers, is How I Met Cain. So
right, exactly.
I have a special love for it.
Of course.
So yeah, I'm having a great week. We're having a great week.
Tell us about it.
Well, let's get some stuff out of the way. We have a big announcement. Listen, guys. We're coming to Boston. We're announcing a third show. It's going to be Friday night, holiday weekend. Rayna! Halloween weekend. Friday night, 9:45. We got a third show at the Wilbur. Listen, guys, you have to buy tickets because I forced Ashley to do this. Me and our agents conspired. And I made her do it. We're gonna have a huge fight
if this show doesn't sell out, the podcast is over. So just everybody get those tickets. Okay, here's the thing about Rayna. Rayna uses the term holiday weekend very loosely. So she keeps saying like, I'm like, I don't know, like, can we like sell out a third show, whatever. Here's a little behind the scenes about us. And Rayna's like, Ashley, it's a holiday weekend. I'm like, Halloween is not a holiday weekend, Rayna. Holiday weekend means you get a day off of work. It's not a holiday weekend. And I remember back to the one time we missed a flight, which was when we were going off on our final Rayna. We were going to on Valentine's Day of 2019 to start our last tour before COVID, and the first stop was San Diego. So we were flying to San Diego. We missed our flight. Only time we've ever missed a flight. We had to get on a later flight that day. And we did underestimate the time it would take us to get to JFK. But Rayna kept saying because it was Valentine's weekend. I was like, that's not a thing.
I think people travel for Valentine's weekend. Yes, they do.
They might do like a poll. There's not more traffic on the road as it's Valentine's Day.
Okay, that's fair.
She kept saying it. I'm sitting there so stressed. Actually, I wasn't that stressed because remember, I did have sex that day. And I was just sitting there like, we're going to miss this flight. And Ray just kept being like, oh, it's Valentine's weekend. You know, I'm like, this bitch. So anyway, little known fact about Rayna.
It's not like I said Flag Day is a holiday weekend.
It's just funny to me. You just kept yesterday. There was like Rayna had said like, Ashley, it's a holiday weekend. And it's in a college town. And I turned to our assistant. I was like, did you know that weekend is a holiday weekend in a college town? Rayna said it 5 times in the last hour.
I just feel like people are looking for plans. It's Friday night of a holiday weekend. It's Halloween. You guys can get dressed up, come to the shows. It'll be really fun.
Yeah, you guys come. No, really, seriously, like Boston. I mean, when we did Boston last, we were like shocked at just the total experience. The Wilbur is probably the best venue in the world. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel comfortable saying that. I feel like a lot of comedians have made that claim. We love it. The energy is so fire. Of course, we'll have insane opening acts and it's just going to be incredible. Like those shows are just their second to none. I mean, all our shows are incredible, but there's something really special at Boston and the Wilbur Theater in particular. A woman runs the show over there. So everything's always on point. There's a dog. Yeah. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, really one of my favorite shows. Our whole hype video on our website is just that Boston show with the Celtics dancers.
Yeah, and that'll be the last show of like Boston, late night, Friday night. Start your weekend on an amazing note and grab those tickets. girlsgotepodcast.com. You can get them right now, probably, right?
Yeah, you definitely can. And grab tickets for Charlotte, Atlanta, Charleston, Raleigh is sold out, but we have a couple left for the other cities. These shows are going to be so fucking wild. I'm so excited. Yeah. It is just like the best girls' night out in the entire world. Bring your boyfriend, bring your husband. We don't care. We'll talk to you. We're more likely to talk to you if you bring a significant other.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll bring you guys up on stage. The live shows are so awesome. So grab tickets and we'll see you guys there.
And merch, girlsgotepodcast.shop, and sign up for the newsletter. We send out some news updates, especially regarding the live shows there first. So just sign up for our newsletter.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Rayna, what do you have to tell me? Because you told me that you have a secret to share. Oh, God.
If I've told you this before, you're the only person I've ever told. And I will be so upset if I got drunk and told you this and I don't remember.
Oh, my God. You're going to tell everybody?
Deepest, darkest. Yeah, I'm going to tell everybody. And also, I was thinking about it because the real reason we missed that flight on Valentine's Day is because you were getting pedicure. And
it's so not true because the pedicure happened in the airport. So anyway.
So I've never gotten a pedicure with you before. And Rob, we were like finishing up work here the other day, and I was gonna go get my nails done. And Rob, who's your friend, my friend,
more my friend.
He's really more your friend.
He's probably more my friend.
He's probably more. I just want
to make it clear he likes me more than you.
That's because
we've been friends with him for decades.
He looks so ridiculous to be walking down.
No, you guys are really developing your own friendship. You went to our salon to get your nails done. Anyway.
Yeah. So I invited you. I tried to have a family trip to the salon, the three of us, but you had already gotten a manicure and a pedicure. So Rob and I walked over there and I got a manicure and he got a pedicure and he was like, why don't you sit for a pedicure with me? And I was like, I'm all set. And I realized I've never told anybody this.
What?
I've never gotten a pedicure.
No.
Not
what?
Once.
What?
This is like my deepest, darkest secret. I have never had a pedicure.
Bella is shocked. She's like, the dogs are freaking out.
Not once. I've never had a pedicure. Every time I've like gotten ready for people's weddings, it's so awkward because everybody gets one and I don't.
Raina, what? Because you're self-conscious about your feet?
Self-conscious about how ugly my feet are, so I don't get pedicures.
You've never gotten one. I feel like I'm going to cry. Everyone's jaws are dropped, including Azul. Azul's got a pedicure, and he came from the street.
He can't even. He can't even look at me.
He can't even. Rayna, that is so sad.
But it's not sad. I don't care. Is it sad?
Well, you should experience that. Not because just you shouldn't be not experiencing that self-care because you're self-conscious about your feet.
Also, like my feet are like not the worst feet in the world. They're like, I feel like I talk about this so often, they're not like that bad. But yeah, I give myself my own pedicures. I've never had a pedicure before.
What would even happen if you got one? You'd probably like come on the spot.
They would
it feels so good.
I feel like they talk about me in a different language behind my back.
That's not true. Like they see the guys in there with like the nastiest feet.
That's true.
Also, who cares if they talk about you behind your back? I'll tell you one time I went and got a pedicure and I hadn't been in a minute. I went with my friend Travis. This is back in Atlanta. And they did the callus treatment and my feet just have I have dry skin and they just scraped off so much. The woman goes, "You're going to be an inch shorter." Because of how much they scraped off my heels. Like, yeah, feet are gross. Like, you shouldn't be self-conscious. This is crazy. I cannot even believe this.
For you guys, first time ever. I never told anybody. I've never told Ashley. I feel like this is our last secret.
Also, you're so short. You'd have to just like when I go in, they reach over me and Rob. They get on the like massage chair remote control and push the button that pushes the seat all the way back because our legs are so long. Like for you, they'd have to scoot it forward. Like when you get into a car, you just have to like.
It's so funny when Ashley and I both share like driving responsibilities to watch Ashley put the seat back to where she needs it.
I can't even get in the car. I have to move the seat before I can even get in.
100%.
I have to slide in. I'm like all up on the steering wheel.
I feel like somebody's gonna reach out and be like, I do nails. I feel like you can't live like this anymore. You should come in.
You should. I mean, just for like the exfoliation, the massage,
I know
the hot stone.
I know. I've never done it before. I know. This is our last secret. This is it. You guys heard it on the podcast.
I can't even believe this. It's crazy.
I know. It looked so nice when Rob was doing it. I was like, I should just do this. My feet are so ugly. You know what I'm going to do is I'm going to find like a small town where no one knows me.
That is so funny. If you're like gone for the day, you're like, I just took a day trip. You come back with like this nice fresh petty.
I'm going to go to like the Catskills, wear sunglasses, like where no one knows me in a small town. And it's just like, I can't like risk anybody seeing this happen.
No, I feel so bad for you.
I know, and it's fine. I do my own toenails, but
Rayna jets off to like South Dakota.
Yeah,
she's
that's
like,
where
I'm
we
here
get
for a
done.
petty.
That's where I'm going to get it done. So that's my secret. That's my big secret, guys. Now you guys know everything about me. I can't ride a bike and I've never gotten a pedicure.
I feel like that should be your goal for the year.
Get a pedicure.
I still haven't gotten my ass eaten. So we're still on this path of fulfilling these goals. So I'm just still going to be out here and getting
I'm ready.
Getting my salad tossed and you'll get a pedicure.
Yeah, I'll get a pedicure.
You should go with Kane. Has he ever gotten a pedicure? Oh my God, what if this is like your couple moment? You've both never gotten one, you go together. Oh my God.
I don't see him as a pedicure getting kind of man.
He proposes at the salon.
But like, I feel like every man loves a pedicure once you, like there's some men that are like, oh, never, and then they go once and they're like, oh yeah, obviously I want to get this all the time.
My brother has never gotten one and it's not like a self-conscious thing. My brother has like pretty good feet for being a size 15 or whatever. But I think he just feels bad to walk in there with a foot that big. You know what I mean? Like they're typically smaller women that are doing pedicures. Like I think he's always felt like, he's so tall for the chair too. But I think he's like, I just feel bad to like put these 2 feet long feet in someone's face.
I don't know.
Like this little woman.
Yeah, they're gonna have to get like a third hand or like a second person in there.
But I was like, you should, I mean, he's on his feet all day.
I know, he should get one. Kane's
but I don't even know if they could get in there. You know what I mean? Like he should just go to like a foot massage salon, which is also an amazing thing to do.
Do you think that they have like underground foot massage salons that's just for like people with big feet and ugly feet? Like the regular people.
That's your new business idea.
Yeah. I have an idea for a massage
safe
parlor.
haven for ugly feet.
Yes. Also, I don't have dry feet. I have soft feet, so I don't have to worry about calluses.
They're gonna love your feet because they're small.
Oh, that's true. They're
less
really
like surface area
full
to work
feet.
on.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fine. I'll go.
Okay, great.
All right.
So it's settled.
That was our secret for the day.
I'm trying to think. I had a few things to chat about. I wanted to say I want to be better about like giving updates on like stuff I talk about with like dating or whatever. I had said a couple weeks ago was wondering. I'd asked you if you thought this guy that we used to casually date, hook up, if we could be friends, and we are.
Yeah.
I feel like we've hung out a couple times.
You are friends now.
I guess.
I mean,
It's fine. It's great.
I'm trying to have you guys have sex.
Whatever. It's worked out, like I threw it out there of like, do you want to come, you want to hang, whatever. Like one night when I was at the stand, and, since then we've just like hung out a couple times. Super casual. It's good. So I just wanted to like give an update on that.
Okay.
I have maybe a low key new crush who is someone who I thought was married. And last night I saw him, we chatted for a minute. I know him don't really know. We know who each other are. We chatted at a show last night and I was like, wait a minute. Could he be single? Like, I just was like, wait, he wasn't wearing a ring. So now I'm on this mission to find out.
I feel like I like this guy for you. I like what he does for a living for you. I like his height for you. I like his age for you. I just think he's so funny. So I like this for you.
I don't know. He still could have a girlfriend. Like, he probably has some like hot model girlfriend. I don't know. I'm looking into it.
We're going to research this.
We're going to figure this out. I've sent a few texts out this morning.
All right. Well, if that doesn't work out, I do have a guy for you. He's my doctor.
Yes.
And I didn't tell you this. He said this thing to me. It was very, so you guys have high blood pressure. And I've been promising Ashley I was going to go to the doctor, and I finally got shamed into it by the City MD people and Ashley and Kane. So Ashley's been insisting that I go, and I have like super high blood pressure, and now I'm on meds to make it better. But I was in there, and this like really cute, like tall Indian guy with like great hair doctor walked in, and I was like, he's such a smoke. But he was talking to me, he's running through this list of questions, and it was like so funny. It's like a little thing I just didn't tell you. And he was like, do you sleep well? Do you exercise? I'm like, yes, I exercise. He's like, do you drink a lot? I was like, here and there. He was like, do you do drugs? No. Do you smoke cigarettes? No. And he asked me these questions, and he was like, are you active? I was like, yes. He was like, do you have a boyfriend? And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And I like paused, and I was like, are you hitting on me? And he goes, no, I'm,
oh my God.
Laughed. And he was like, I meant like, do you sleep next to a person frequently who like can tell you if you wake up a lot in the middle of the night, or if
that
you're
sounds
breathing
fake.
Heavily in the middle of the night?
That sounds fake.
No, it's a doctor.
Sounds like he was trying to hit on you.
I don't think so.
That sounds like he was like tried to sneak that in there in a series of questions, and then he had to try to come up with an excuse. He was like, do you sleep with someone that might tell you if you wake up?
What? Here's why I don't think he was hitting on me. There was a resident and a nurse in the room with him. So there was 3 people in the room, and it was a legitimate question because he was asking me about my breathing when I sleep, and if there's somebody in a room with me frequently that can like give me information about that.
Okay.
So it was like, and it was sandwiched in between, like, do you work out? Do you drink? Do you do drugs? Are you active? Like, it really hit me. And it was like the funniest thing a doctor has ever said to me.
Do you have a boyfriend?
Do you have a boyfriend? I was like, what?
That is so funny. You said the funniest thing about that trip when you were there. You were like, I'm like the youngest person here. There's all these like older men. And then you said, we're all here for the same reason. And I was like, what's that? You were like, our wives made us come.
That is why. It was like 40 old men with their old wives and me there alone, and like all of our wives made us go. That's funny. But I like this doctor for you. My follow-up visit, I think, is next Thursday at 4:00, so you can come.
Yeah, we like thought maybe one of our other doctor friends who's a cardiologist might know him. So I was like texting her. I was like, do you know this guy? And she was like, I do. But then it was the wrong guy because he has a very common last name. Yeah. So we're still on it. So guys, prospects for me. Listen, I had one more thing. So Rob, who is like one of my very best friends, my friend.
More your friend.
He came back he's been away from New York for a while. He's been back and forth, but his wife has not been back since before the pandemic, and they came back and they brought their baby. And I am obsessed with this baby. Like, I feel like I have legitimate baby fever to be an aunt. Like, I really do. Mm-hmm. Like, I saw the baby hanging out with some other friends. I was like, what's she doing? I'm upset.
I have seen you hold 2 babies in the last couple of weeks, and I'm sad I haven't started a series called Ashley Holding Babies. Cause like, I feel like I watch this thing wash over you and your body and your face when you hold a baby, where you're like, oh, I do like this.
But I've always said that. Like, I don't hate babies and hate kids. I'm like dying for Matt to have kids. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It's kind of a fucked up world to bring a kid into, but I still support it. But like, also, she was Azul was so cute with her, mm-hmm. and she's the perfect age. Cause I do get like when I held Corey's infant, it stresses me out.
Like they can't hold their head up.
I mean, I can still do it. I'm not like, I do it I'm happy to do it. And then I start to feel a little more comfortable like as time goes on, but like a 6-month-old baby, it's like perfect. Cause they can hold their head up. We took her to Ozatar. We had like this night out at Ozatar. It was so great. I'm just like, want a baby in my life. I just want to be an aunt.
I know, I do too.
Specifically.
I do too. I feel like I have aunt fever too. I want somebody else to have kids. Well, Kane has a nephew too, and I just like love him so much.
Cute. And they like FaceTime you.
They FaceTime you. They can talk a little. He doesn't. Nothing he says makes sense. He just goes on these long strings of gibberish, and I keep going. And then what happened?
I love it.
It is so cute.
But anyway, so yeah, we were putting the pressure on my brother when we were in Dewey, which is fine. Like, they want children and they want them like for sure. It's not like we're like harassing them.
Yeah, they talk about it all the time.
Yeah, but we kind of are harassing them.
I'm ready. I'm ready for messed up kids. I'm ready. She ready.
So anyway, like I had posted that I posted on my Instagram, like baby fever, but for a niece. And then randomly that day, this meme came out. I don't know if they copied me, and it said like baby fever, but in an aunt way. And a bunch of people sent it to me.
I had this like realization of this other reason why I don't want kids. I was watching, I'm rewatching Real Housewives of New Jersey from 2012. There's a scene where Teresa has to go get all 4 of her daughters up for school. It's 6:00 in the morning. She's waking every single one of them up. She's making sure they all get dressed. They brush their hair. They brush their teeth. If they get to the school bus, she's making them breakfast. They're all running around. One of them's cooking an egg. And she's like 4. She's cooking her own egg. And Teresa's like, please don't burn the house down. And I was like, I can't handle this. That is a chaos level at 6:00 in the morning that I could never handle. Oof. Like if you are a mom, you are a superhero that you can handle that. I could never handle that. And more than one kid, absolutely not. 6:00 in the morning. Nope. Can't do it.
I mean,
I'm not strong enough. I wasn't built for this.
No, I wasn't.
I'm not Ford tough.
All right. Well, speaking of shows, I have a bone to pick with you.
What?
Okay. I watched The One, which if you guys remember, this is a show about DNA matching, and I thought it was real. We posted a clip. When was this? This is like in the early beginning of the year, I think.
It was a long time ago.
It was like in February, maybe. So you can go back and watch this. It was like really such an insane moment on the show because Rayna was talking to me about this fictional show, and I thought it was real, and I thought that people were really being matched based on their DNA.
I mean, imagine you like your perfect match throughout the entire world. Everybody's in this database. You could pay to like be in the database, and everybody does it. And I got through this whole thing, and you thought it was a reality show.
Yeah, and it was. You can watch the moment happen where I realized it's not real on video. It's on our Instagram. So I watched it. I had been wanting to watch it. I caught up on a lot of TV over the weekend. I didn't have any shows, and I felt so good about it. I like watched a lot of TV. It rained. We had like the hurricane weather. It was perfect. I had a great time.
I didn't leave the house for 2.5 days. You know me, that's my truth.
And it's on Netflix. Again, Rayna fully explained it, but Rayna, I feel like you did not describe how much of like a dark drama this show is. I was thinking it was going to feel a little more, not like a sitcom, but like not what
lighter.
It was. It is
heavy.
Dark.
Yeah, it's dark.
It's like SVU. There's like a murder. It's like a murder mystery. It's really dark and heavy and like a lot of emotions.
Well, I don't watch a ton of fiction. You guys know I don't read fiction. I watch a ton of fiction. I thought it was like a pretty dead on ringer for like what would really happen if this stuff happened. I loved it. You know, it is really dark, and it is a dark concept when you think about it. Cause like people existed in the world and they were married and they had kids, and then this technology existed. And it's like, you know, if you have a spouse, would you still take the test? You know? And it's dark.
I mean, I loved it. You guys, we're recommending this a second time. Like just really watch it. I felt like pretty hooked from the first moment. Like I'm at first 10 minutes in, I was like, do I want to go down this road? And then I just got like so like locked in. I mean, it's like a female villain pretty much, you know, and there's so much to it. And I will say this, I guess this is sort of a spoiler, so you can skip ahead if you don't want any spoilers. But the thing that just stuck with me the most and has still stuck with me is the couple that she found his match.
Yeah.
I can't stop thinking about it. Like I felt so many emotions throughout that whole ride, and he was like torn. And then it ends with like that girl, she's going to try to get back at her and find her match. Anyway, this married couple who they really painted them as like the perfect, wonderful couple. And then she was just so obsessed with thinking that he had a perfect match out there. So she like found his match and then met her and like befriended her. It was fucking nuts. Anyway, that was like the craziest thing. And then, you know, when we did the show before, I was like, I don't think I would do this. And I'm going to walk it back.
Okay, you would.
I don't think I would do it if I was happily married or in a really happy relationship, because I would be like, well, you know, like we can have more than one person that we're going to match with. But if I was single, I would like want to find that person, like just the way they made it seem in the show, again, fictional show, but like that intense love. Also, that can't happen, right? That's fake, right? There's not just like two people in the world that had the same like genetic mutation or whatever. Like it's a totally fake concept, right?
As a scientist, I feel like, no, I don't fucking know.
Well, or you could match people based on their DNA, but there would be a lot of people, right?
I think there's so much about nature versus nurture. Like some of these people, they matched like an American scientist who grew up in America with this like woman from like a Nigerian village. And it's like those people, I think on a baseline level can have similar intelligence levels, similar humor levels, but their backgrounds are so different. I think it does sort of like, it makes the probability they would connect in any way almost impossible. Like there is so much nature, you know, and there's plenty of like nurture. Sorry. So, I mean, I don't know that really is real, because like plenty of people can have a similar DNA match, but like you grew up in totally like one person could have gone like through like Nazi training camp and you could have grown up in like a Jewish temple. There's no reason that you would ever be together. So
yeah, it's totally fictional. And that doesn't even track. Like if it's based on these like DNA, like a mutation or whatever, there's not two people in the world that have that. It was like, whatever, but it was such a fun watch. But I was like, if this was real, like I would try to find that person, because they make it seem like you meet this person and you feel like you've known them your whole life, and like it's intense.
If I was single, I would do it, but also if I was in a relationship, like if this existed tomorrow, like I would live in fear that the person that I was dating currently and in love with would want to do it.
I mean, that's what happened to that girl on the show.
I would live in fear that they would do it.
But he didn't want to.
But also there's this other thing of like, you know, is there any substitute for history with somebody? You know, like that couple had such a history that like he didn't want to go be with that woman because he was like, no one else will ever know me like this person will.
Yeah.
I also don't believe in soulmates. I believe that there are like a lot of people that can make you really happy throughout your life. And I think that we change and we evolve. And we talk about this all the time in the show. Like the person I was engaged to that I would have married at the age of 28, like I would meet that person at a bar day and think like he's a really nice person, but I wouldn't have anything to talk to that person about, you know, he wouldn't get past go with me. And so I think we can have a lot of loves of our lives that are super different. And I don't believe there's one person for everybody. I think that there's dozens of people that could make you happy in the world.
100%. I totally agree. So anyway, recommending that again. And then we were off track, but I just have to like secondly endorse Hacks. I watched Hacks. Rayna just said it was great. I feel like you didn't like I feel like you loved White Lotus more than me, and I loved Hacks more than you.
Yes.
But I was obsessed with it. I love it. I get very like anxious about how female comedians are going to be depicted. You know what I mean? And are they just being like sad and lonely and like whatever? Like, and I just feel like I felt like it was kind of going in that direction. Then it kind of took a turn. Whatever. I was pleased with it, the way it all turned out. And like, of course there's going to be a second season.
I like the cliffhanger also.
The cliffhanger makes me feel crazy. I feel sick about it.
Yeah.
But I guess we're going to see what happens with that. But anyway, I just have to secondly endorse that. So maybe you guys watched it because you heard Rayna talk about it last week, but I like love it.
And we're going to post a rec slide.
Yeah. So you'll see all these on Instagram. That I think I got through all the things I wanted to discuss. All
right. Well, I don't have any recs for this week. I'm actually rereading Kitchen Confidential. I like fired it back up after I watched the Anthony Bourdain doc. But I have like, I'm rewatching Real Housewives of New Jersey from 2013. And that's it. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah. I feel like I just had this really solid weekend where over a few days of like finishing White Lotus, doing Hacks in full and doing The One in full. And those were like kind of at the top of my list. So I feel better. I was having anxiety about my TV.
Yeah, I know you were, and I was glad that you, because Ashley's a full-time comedian also outside of this, and I'm living my dream and I do nothing. But actually, we'll give you guys an update next week. But tomorrow I leave for Pittsburgh. I'm introducing Kane to my entire family: mom, dad, stepdad, brother, my brother's wife, my sister-in-law, probably my brother's in-laws. He'll meet them. All of my friends I grew up with. We have so many plans for 4 days.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is just such a nice teaser. Next week we're gonna talk about Kane meeting the entire family.
I have never been more secure in bringing somebody home for two reasons. First of all, I feel secure with him. I feel like he's a nice person. I get along with everybody, but I also feel secure in my life. And I think that this is like a good sort of piece of advice to everybody is like, you should feel secure going home and introducing somebody to your family and saying, you know, you guys should trust me that I would pick a good person. So no matter who I introduce to you, I trust that you guys will behave correctly. I trust that you guys will be nice and open-minded and have an open heart about this and embrace them the way that I would. And my parents trust trust me to make good decisions. They know anybody I bring home is a great person. But I'm excited, and I feel super confident. It'll be great.
Yeah, that's how it should feel. Excited, not like anxious.
Yes.
Like that something bad's going to happen, or you know what I mean? But again, everybody's a different type of family. We did this whole episode a couple weeks ago. So not everybody has some like, people have justified reasons for having anxiety surrounding it. But I'm just glad that you are like nothing but like excitement and ease.
Yeah, we'll be great. It'll be great. We're going to a bar mitzvah. My cousin Casey's son is having a bar mitzvah. She listens to the show. So I can't wait to see her and get dressed up and all that. So it'll be great. We'll give you guys an update next week.
Okay,
guys, the moment we've been waiting for. We are so excited to have a very requested guest on the show today. She is an award-winning writer, speaker, researcher, educator. She has multiple phenomenal TED Talks, including one that Ashley was just watching last night, The Key to a Happier, Healthier Sex Life. She is a New York Times best-selling author of Come As You Are, The Surprising New Science That Will Transform Your Sex Life, and the co-author of Burnout, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle. Please welcome to the show, Emily Nagoski.
Yay!
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
The cheer brings out the Muppet in me. Yay! Kermit the Frog.
And you're from Delaware,
Yes.
which is just so exciting. I feel like I've known you forever.
Yes, we have so much in common with you. We were just saying, I went to school at Indiana University, and you taught at the Kinsey Institute, which is my favorite class I ever took in the college.
Who was your instructor?
I don't remember. I barely remember college. And you now teach at Smith College, and I spent so much time at Amherst.
I left Smith a couple of years ago. I do this permanent. No, so like,
Got it.
So like, I live in Western Massachusetts. I worked at Smith for 8 years.
Okay.
I collaborated with the folks at Amherst College all the time.
Wow.
Spent a lot of time. Yeah. The people who work there are really amazing.
Yeah, it seems like you're busy with all this other stuff, the books, the TED Talks and everything.
It became clear at a certain point that I could either like travel to all the places that wanted me to come and give talks, like training therapists and medical providers, or I could have a job.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really tough choice because I loved my job, but it felt like really important.
Absolutely.
I want your doctor to have read Come As You Are, to understand how sexual arousal and desire work so that they don't tell you wrong shit.
It's funny you said that. We have a very good girlfriend.
Yeah.
We were describing an upcoming episode and what the topics were, and she said, this sounds like a book that I recommend to my patients all the time.
Oh, good.
And it was your book.
Yeah. She's dealing with women and their reproductive systems. She gets a lot of women that are probably asking those questions like, I feel like I'm broken, which, I'm sure you
Where
get
did
all
my
the
sexual
time.
desire go? How come I can't have orgasms from intercourse?
And she's like, whoa, I'm out of my league. Read this book.
Yeah.
So-
Those are not questions that can be answered in a 15-minute doctor's visit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we would love to hear a little bit about your history and how you got into this type of work and how you started researching this, because you wrote this phenomenal book based on a lot of research and data. So how did you get into this?
Yeah, so I was a big nerd in high school back at Wilmington, Delaware.
Wait, which high school did you go to? Do you mind me asking?
Brandywine High School.
Okay, I just wanted to know.
Go Bulldogs.
Yeah. No, I know it's a small
let
state.
it be for the record, yes, Jill Biden was my 10th grade English teacher. Delaware is a very small state.
Right, Brandywine. Yes,
Right, and then I became, multiple New York Times bestselling author. So thanks, Joe.
I love it.
Good old Jill.
So big nerd, got to college, University of Delaware, didn't know what I wanted to do, but knew that I'd be going to grad school for something. So I needed some volunteer work on my resume to make me look like a good grad school candidate. And a guy on my floor was pre-med, and he said, come be a peer health educator with me. And I was just like, I like health. Why not?
Yeah.
So I did. I got trained to go into residence halls and talk to my fellow undergraduates about all kinds of health things like stress and sleep and massage and communication skills, but also sex, condoms, contraception, and consent. And my degree is in psychology with minors in cognitive science and philosophy. And I had this idea that I was going to be a clinical neuropsychologist. I loved brain stuff. I wanted to work with people with traumatic brain injury and stroke. But the work I was doing as a sex educator, and then eventually as a sexual violence prevention educator, and then as a sexual assault crisis responder, going with survivors to the hospital, that work made me like who I am as a person in a way that none of the brain nerd stuff could. And so that's the path I chose. I ended up at Indiana University, where I got a master's degree in counseling psychology, thinking I was going to be a sex therapist. Realized about halfway through that I do not have the special magical thing that it takes to sit in a room with people and go,
Because you want to interject, or you just
tell me how you feel about that. Like, I am a teacher by temperament.
I hear
like,
you.
I want to like tell you the thing and then have you go like use the thing in your life, and we're done.
You're right. You're not responsible after that.
Like, yeah, I don't know. And I love therapists. I have a therapist. She's been my therapist for like 12 years. I've known her longer than I've known my husband. It's a magical skill that I do not have. I am a teacher, but I'm also a woman who likes to be in charge of things, so I needed a terminal degree. So I stayed at IU and got a Ph.D. in health behavior from what is now the School of Public Health, with a concentration in human sexuality. Working all the while as an educator at the Kinsey Institute. My dissertation was advised by a senior researcher at the Kinsey Institute, and then there I was with this degree. And I got a job at Smith College. I was the director of wellness education, and I was the lecturer in health. And I taught this class called Women's Sexuality. And so Smith College is a small liberal arts women's college in Western Massachusetts. Among its most prominent alumni are Gloria Steinem.
Oh my gosh.
Betty Friedan.
Oh,
Yeah.
Julia Child, right? So imagine I had 187 future Gloria Steinems, Betty Friedans, Julia Childs. It was an intense semester that first semester I was teaching and figuring out what it was like to teach there. And so at the end of the semester, my last question on the final exam was just, out of all the things you have learned, what is one important thing that you're going to take away from this? And I thought they were going to say stuff like specifically like attachment theory or arousal non-concordance or the evolutionary stuff, but no, out of my 187 Gloria Steinem and Betty Friedans, more than half of them wrote something like, I'm normal. I learned I'm normal. Just because I'm different from other women doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me. I can trust my body because I am normal. I don't know how often you've graded final exams, but it is not usually like this. I was sitting in my office grading with tears in my eyes, feeling like something very important had happened in that class, and I wanted to do it again. And I wanted to do it at a scale that would be accessible to people who were not just enrolled at Smith College. And that's the day I decided to write Come As You Are. A mere 4.5 years later, there's the book. And so that's how I got here.
Well, I think that Ashley and I can really relate to this because we don't grade final exams, but we read a lot of messages from listeners every single day. And so many of them say, am I normal? And these things that I'm feeling normal. And so many women express to us that they have trouble with desire, with anything in the bedroom, with orgasm, with feeling desirable, with wanting to initiate sex. And everybody at the end of the day, I think, wants to feel like they are normal. People are like them. And that's what I take from some of the emails. Because every email I read, I'm like, oh, I just read 10 emails just like yours. There's so many people exactly going through exactly what you are going through.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that story. That was really beautiful. And I love to hear how you got to where you are today, and just so much of it resonated. And so I'm so excited to talk more about this with you. I mean, let's just get right into that. I mean, probably the overwhelming question that you get, that, anyone in your field gets, that we get, is, I'm having trouble with sex. It's not like you see in the movies. It's not, I'm not orgasming. I feel broken. Can we just kind of start there, like general basics? Also, you can start wherever you want. We'll just give you the floor, but that seems kind of like a good place to start, and just kind of the actual logistics of it all, like how we're built.
Yeah. And why isn't it like men? It's not like blood goes into the penis goes up, penis goes in, penis throws up. And that, it's very different.
Except that it is exactly like that. It is precisely the same in many, many ways, because we are all made of the same parts. It's just those parts are organized in a slightly different way. So like there is a biological term is a homologue. There is like an equivalent body part for every body part you see on like the it's a boy kind of body. There's an equivalent on the it's a girl kind of body. So the place we're going to start and the place everybody will end up is literally everything you were taught about sex for the first, I don't know, roughly 2 decades of your life was fundamentally wrong, misguided, factually incorrect, and often morally bankrupt. Because somebody had an agenda and wanted to control your body and how you related to it. They wanted to make sure that you hated yourself because people who feel like shit buy more shit. Or they wanted you to feel like you're, especially if you're in the it's a girl kind of body, like the user's manual you get handed on the day you're born includes a lot of stuff about how like your body doesn't actually belong to you. Pleasure is not meaningful. What matters is everybody else's pleasure and making sure you're meeting their needs and they feel comfortable. And you can just like put a big black curtain around the place where your genitals go. Mm-hmm. So, and like that might sound really extreme before you learn all the things, but like you're going to have to recognize that you're going to have the experience over and over of being like, but that's not what I was told. No, it's not what you're told. You were lied to over and over again. And you were told that you were a failure or broken or diseased if you didn't match what everybody told you. And so over and over, you're going to be like, but that's not what I was told. No, it's not. So you're saying I'm not broken or a failure or diseased? That is correct. You are normal and healthy and excellent and beautiful and worthy of all the ecstatic pleasure that your body is capable of experiencing. Should we start with the brain?
Yeah, please. I love brain stuff.
So here's the mechanism. In your brain, it's called the dual control model. So how many parts does a dual control model have?
2.
It has 2.
Ashley's a great student.
It's really impressive. If the first part is the accelerator or the gas pedal, then the second part is going to be
the brake.
The brakes. Exactly right. So we have a sexual accelerator that notices all the sex-related information in the environment. Everything that you see, hear, smell, imagine the sexy smells, taste, touch, or crucially, think, believe, or imagine. And this brain mechanism is called the sexual excitation system, notices that information and sends the turn on signal that many of us are familiar with. It's functioning all the time, subconsciously, including right now. Here we are. You're like thinking through, like, what's a sexy sight, a sexy smell, a sexy taste, sexy touch. And so there's a little bit of turn on signal happening right now. Fortunately, at the same time and in parallel, your brakes are noticing all the good reasons not to be turned on right now. Everything that you see, hear, smell, touch, taste, think, believe, or imagine that your brain codes as a potential threat. And it sends a turn off signal. So your level of arousal is a balance of how much the ons are turned on and how much the offs are turned off. And even though most of the like mainstream advice for people who are struggling around sexuality, whether it's desire, arousal, orgasm, pleasure, initiation, all that stuff, usually the advice is to like add stimulation to the accelerator with lingerie and candles and role play and porn. And those things are great if you like them, go for it. But the reality is when people are struggling, it's rarely because there's not enough stimulation to the accelerator. It's very much more common for it to be because there is too much stimulation to the brakes. Because like the list of things that can be hitting a person's brake at any given moment is like 20 miles long. And you can probably think of some off the top of your head, like people you know, what are things that hit their brakes?
I mean, oh my gosh. Well, if you could be insecure about your body, you could be, you ate too much pasta. You're stressed about work. You're stressed about something going on with your family. You don't really know the person, so you don't trust them or feel
relationship.
Yep. Yeah. The actual relationship. Right. You could be low key mad at them.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be physically uncomfortable. I mean, I don't know. Like I can think of all the reasons
like
why.
There are so many things. Your feet could be cold. You could be still distracted.
Thank you
and
so much for
about
saying that, Emily, because I do have sex with socks on and people call me a psychopath.
No.
And I have bad circulation in my feet.
There's
and if
literal
my feet are
research
cold,
that shows that putting on socks improves people's orgasms.
Thank you. That's the clip, the intro clip. My validation validation. Okay. All right. Continue.
This is going to be Ashley's March that she starts.
Yeah.
Sex with socks.
I told this to a friend, and she went, really? Like, my feet are cold and it distracts me, and I could just put on socks to solve this problem? Yeah. You don't have to like struggle and tell yourself it shouldn't bother you. But what she went a step further. She got thigh-high wool socks. So her partner got like the sexy look, and it was both hot and warm. Her feet were comfortable, and her partner got to see the sights.
Okay. I love that.
So it was both turning off the offs and turning on the ons.
I love that. I never even thought about it. It's sometimes not like about scheduling sex or turning on a porn or like pulling out a new sex toy, which again, if that is exciting to you, great. But
go for it.
Sometimes I just had a bad week at work and I don't want to have sex.
I love this. Like before you add in all the accelerators, we got to clear the space from the stuff that's pushing the brake.
Mm-hmm. And one of the deep ironies of the brake is that if you notice something is hitting your brake and you judge yourself, it shouldn't, like, I should be able to have sex with the lights on. It shouldn't bother me. I should be able to have orgasms from vaginal stimulation. It shouldn't be such a struggle. I should want sex easily out of the blue, and I just don't. And there must be something wrong with me. Does that judgment of yourself, does that hit the accelerator? No, it's just an extra level of brakes. Right. So one of the first and most important things people can do, like figure out some of the things that hit your brakes and then grant yourself permission to let that stuff hit the brakes. I was just talking to someone like about specifically having the lights on, that it was a revelation for her partner to be like, I want to turn on the light, I want to see you. And she'd just be like, nope, click. Mm-hmm. And like, she was allowed to do that. Her confidence came not from having the lights off, but from knowing that she was allowed to keep the lights off if that's what felt good for her.
Yeah, not everybody has to have middle of the day, bright light, at doggy style sex in the living room.
If you want to go for it.
I mean, I want to.
We've been there.
Yeah, I have also been there, but like, it's not for everyone. And the whole point is it's not supposed to be for everyone. Other people's sex lives have nothing to do with you. Mm-hmm. What works for me has nothing. Like if you're like, why do people wear socks? That's cool. Don't wear socks. And like, good for her that she found something that works for her, putting on socks.
So can we talk about some of those main things and how to combat them?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So maybe we talk about body insecurity, because I had a friend who said to me that she has never had an orgasm with a partner ever. Yeah. And for the first thing I said to her was, have you had an orgasm by yourself? Yes. So I said, okay, well, maybe are you insecure about your body? Do you feel insecure like when you take your clothes off? So I think one of the pieces of advice you gave was to keep the lights off, which I think is a great piece of advice. But is there anything else you might
Technically,
say?
The advice is if the lights on hits your brakes, you do not have to have the lights on.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That way your brake is loosened up and your accelerator is free to do its job. You could, like, if you're like, this is a frontier that I want to cross, I want to get to a place where I'm comfortable with the lights on, you can do that. Step 1, put candles in the room, leave them unlit in the darkness. Do that for a week. Second week, light 1 candle. Third week, light 2 candles. You gradually, very gradually increase the light and you experience what it's like to have that much light. But also, you could just have sex in the dark. Like, you are never under any obligation to turn those lights on. I do think it's a great idea, regardless of its impact on your sex life, to develop a compassionate, affectionate relationship with your body. Because, like, it's the only thing you have with you from the moment of your birth to the moment of your death. You only get one. And it's going to change a lot over the course of your life. Like, I put a whole bunch of work into loving my body in my 20s. And it changed. I turned 30 and, like, change. And, like, I put a lot of work into loving that body. And then I turned 40. It changed again, and I was like, I have to do this again. I love this body now. Awesome. like diagnosed with chronic illness. Hooray. So that's fun. Perimenopause. Cool. So one of the concrete exercises I recommend for people to enhance their relationship with their body, so that like when you're in a sexual situation, thinking about sensations in your body does not result in self-critical thoughts about your body, because those self-critical thoughts inevitably just hit the brakes. So you stand in front of a mirror naked and you write down everything you see that you like. Which, like, what's the first thing that happens in your head when you go to look for the things that you like? You have this thunderstorm in your head of all the things you have been told to hate, right? So, cool. You're just going to set those aside. You can think about, you can have those self-critical thoughts any other time. Right now, what you're going to do is, if it is your eyelashes, you write that down. If it is like your philtrum, the bow of your lip, great, write that down. If it's your ankle bones, if it's your spirit, because you can see it in your eyes, write that down. And then you do it again the next day. You do it again the next day. You do it again the next day, and it will inoculate you against the self-critical cultural messages that are telling you that it's your job to hate yourself and fix yourself so that you can deserve to experience pleasure.
Okay.
My thing is, you deserve it now. Your body does not have to conform to the culturally constructed aspirational beauty ideal in order to deserve pleasure and love and affection and joy. You deserve it right now. My sister and I, so I co-wrote Burnout with my identical twin sister. And in that book, we call it the Bikini Industrial Complex, which is this like multi-billion-dollar machine that profits only when we hate ourselves.
Yeah.
Did you know that women's magazines are used as a stimulus when psychologists want to research depression? All you have to do is sit a woman in a waiting room with some women's magazines to induce a low enough mood to see how it impacts their cognition.
Oh. I mean, it tracks, you know?
Right?
Yeah.
I read that 100%. And I was like, oh, yeah. So second concrete strategy, begin to notice as you consume magazines and television and Instagram and all the other social medias, if there's something you see that makes you feel worse about yourself, more critical of yourself, consider not looking at it.
Right. We say
and I know, like, there is something sort of satisfying the way, like, chewing on a cold sore can be satisfying discomfort. Like, we have been taught that it is good for us to criticize ourselves and hate our bodies. That's wrong. It's yet another way that you've been lied to all your life. In the same way that you were told it's about like hitting the accelerator, and there's not even a brake. There shouldn't be. And if anything hits your brake, that's something wrong with you. No, your brakes are really important. You're also both allowed to love your body and not to listen to anyone who says that you're supposed to hate it or change it. You're already fine.
So what if somebody says, I like my body, I feel confident, I feel like I dress well, I'm proud of myself, I look good, but like I just can't seem to really feel like a sex drive towards my partner or towards anybody. Are there some other factors that you would say, let's address those?
Oh, there are so many. So my first question, is it a difficulty with not enough stimulation to the accelerator or too much stimulation to the brake? And also, some people have like really not sensitive accelerators or have very, very sensitive brakes where like the least thing, a stray thought, a stray fingernail, a stray sound outside the door can just shut everything down. Those are the folks who are going to struggle the most. But they're not necessarily the folks who are going to be like, I just have no interest in any kind of sex. The folks with really not sensitive accelerators are the folks who are most likely to identify as asexual and to have desire differential in their relationships, unsurprisingly. And the question I would ask to a person who's like, I just have, like, if I never had sex again, I would be totally satisfied. My question would be, actually, I learned this from the sex therapist and researcher Peggy Kleinplatz, who just wrote a wonderful book. It's called Magnificent Sex.
Okay.
Best title in the world. And she would say to that client, so tell me more about this sex you do not want. Because chances are It is, in Peggy's words, dismal and disappointing.
Oh, so you're saying the people that like sometimes associate with a lower sex drive have not had really fulfilling sex?
They have not had sex worth wanting.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I can relate to that.
Here's like the big revelation from Peggy's research. It is normal not to want sex you do not like. Right?
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So, and like the next step. So if you're like, yeah, and so let's like think about the kind of sexual experiences a person might have had where they're like, I have no interest in this thing called sex.
It's all the sex I had till I was 25. It was for his pleasure, and I took care of myself later.
Yes, right. It was not about connection. You were performing what Amelia and I in Burnout call human giver syndrome, which is the idea that you have a moral obligation to be pretty, happy, calm, generous, and unfailingly attentive to the needs of others. His pleasure matters so much more than yours does. So your job is to perform as an excellent sexual creature, meet your partner's needs, make sure they feel satisfied, and then like the rest of it is like, well, that's your problem. And we get rewarded when we do this and punished when we don't. If we don't have orgasms the way our partner believes we're supposed to have orgasms, or don't have them in the amount of time that our partner believes our orgasms are supposed to happen in, which, how long do partners think orgasms are supposed to take? 10 minutes?
Oh God, yeah, 8 minutes. I don't know.
I don't know that I related to that at that age. I don't know that in my brain I thought I have to be submissive and give him pleasure. I think I just didn't even know what good sex was, and I wasn't having sex with men that knew what good sex was. You grow up and you learn.
Don't think it's about feeling submissive, because I was like that too. The thing for me is that I learned how to have sex out of romance novels and women's magazines, all of which taught me that men really like it when women seem to enjoy sex. And so I learned that I'm supposed to make noise. I learned I'm supposed to touch my own breasts and touch my own body. Men really like it when you touch your own body and make noise. And so I did those things because I wanted him to be satisfied. And the experience I was having, I was like, well, this must be what sexual pleasure feels like, I guess, because I'm following the rules. I am doing what I was told to do, being a good girl. And I thought I was being very sexually liberated, when actual liberation is not following anybody's rules except for what your own internal experience is telling you truly feels good. That was my experience.
And I think a lot of this is shifting and changing for the better.
God,
that's kind of what we're able to do. I mean, I think if you listen to this podcast and you read books like yours and you consume the right type of content, those kind of old ideals are a little bit out the window of like, it's for his pleasure. And you know what I mean? So hopefully I feel like we're,
I feel like it definitely, I literally did an interview with a Cosmo journalist who's like, we're writing an article about the role Cosmo played in facilitating the idea that the G-spot is really important. And I was like, Cosmo is being self-reflective.
Cosmo and Esquire. We've interviewed both of those editors in chief, and we love that they are taking responsibility for some of maybe like damage they've done, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So anyway, okay, well, let's really move into, what is another common thing? Is it lack of trust, lack of feeling safe and comfortable with your partner? Is that a huge part of it?
So important. Like when you're having sex with someone else. So there's a researcher and therapist who developed emotionally focused therapy, who defines trust as, are you there for me? And R stands for emotionally attuned. No, sorry, it's emotionally available, emotionally responsive, and emotionally engaged. So when I come to you with a vulnerability, you are not distracted by your phone and just going, yeah, You are actually like tuned in to what I am saying. The reason that are you there for me is so important with sex is like, you might be like taking off clothes and showing this person parts of your body almost no one will see. They might be touching parts of your body almost no one will see. Putting parts of their body inside parts of your body, or you might put a part of your body inside their body. So you take off your clothes and you're like, here it is. If their response is, okay, is that a person who is there for you?
The brake is pushing so hard.
Right? Like, so you have to trust that your partner is going to be 100% there for you, especially in those slightly risky situations where you feel like you've like taken a step into vulnerability. If your partner's response is, wow, and yay, and thanks, that's a partner who's there for you. And you can like get into the bed with no clothes on and be like, they are glad I am here.
But I never even thought about backing up way before sex, just feeling like on a day-to-day basis that your partner, we were watching White Lotus, which is on HBO, and there's a couple on it. And she keeps trying to tell him all these things that are happening in her day and her life. And he just sort of like breezes past it, talks about what he wants.
That's human giver syndrome.
I think that some women can relate to that, where they say like, well, my partner isn't day to day there for me. So like, yeah, I'm supposed to just turn this on in the bedroom for you.
Yes,
and that's
exactly.
not fair.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's so true. Like, I mean, I'm sure that's not like a hot take that like so much else of what contributes to what's happening in your brain in the bedroom is happening every other moment of the day when sex
there was
is
a controversy around this actually with the development of the fun term chore play.
Okay.
So there was a calendar published of like mostly undressed men doing the dishes, vacuuming the rug, folding the laundry. It's chore play. Like, what could be sexier than like, finally, I am being supported in my household? And there was kind of a backlash. Like, no. You know what women want? They want sex. And I was like, actually, what they want is to be, they're in a partnership where their partner is there for them, recognizes like what their needs are, and helps.
Emily, we cannot tell you enough. We asked for people's like, we said non-sexual turn-ons, but like it was also stuff that we meant you were turned on by, and it was loading
Dishes
the
and
dishwasher. It was the dishes and laundry. Like it's so true. Like there's nothing that's more of a turn off than not feeling supported in your relationship, and it doesn't seem to be a long-term relationship. Like you can be dating someone for a couple months. It's like you just put the glasses in the dishwasher when you finish, your cereal bowl. So yeah, that's crazy that people tried to debunk that. We can tell you otherwise, all of us.
Yeah, who wants to sexually satisfy a partner that doesn't give a shit about your satisfaction in the rest of your life? It's like, I got to do everything and I got to make you come and sacrifice how I feel.
Yeah.
Who wants that?
And it's not that we don't also want our pussies licked. Like some of us really enjoy that. But in order to get to a place where I'm interested in allowing this person to put their face anywhere near my genitals, like, I got to feel a kind of way about that person. And one of the ways I know this is a person I can trust with my body is if this is a person I can trust in my life. Dishes are a part of life. Laundry is a part of life. And like, it's not like I'm expecting my partner to enjoy doing them, but to do some of it without me having to ask every time is like, this is somebody who recognizes that we share a life together. And the sex part is a part of our life. And that means the dishes part is also a part of our sex life. And we can feel the intimacy of like eating food someone cooked for us, as like there was so much care and attention to this person who like is so there. The way this was arranged is that my husband like did all the emailing, because I'm at like writing a book proposal now and doing a bunch of other stuff. And I'm like, can you just do all of my email for me? And he does.
And you're like, I'm so turned on by that.
He's good at it. And it's just like, So when y'all are like, by the way, your husband was really easy to work with. He was great. I'm like, yeah.
You're like, oh, tell me more. Okay, I have a question for you. And we've talked about this quite a bit on the podcast. I like asking different guests. So if you have a student or somebody who's reading your book say like, well, I always fake orgasms during sex because I can't have orgasms during sex. I guess I'd like to talk about like the danger in doing that and the danger in communicating to your partner that they are providing pleasure that they are not.
Yeah. And I both understand why people do it. I did it in my 20s. And I understand the sort of complicated dynamics that emerges. First of all, when we say during sex, a lot of people mean during penile vaginal intercourse. And only a quarter, maybe a third, but like a quarter of women are reliably orgasmic from penis and vagina sex alone. In the research, it's called unassisted intercourse, which is one of my favorite nerd terms. So only a minority of women, and they're normal. That's great for them. But the remaining 2/3 to 75% of women are only sometimes, rarely, or never orgasmic from vaginal stimulation alone. Most of them need additional clitoral stimulation because the clitoris is the hokey pokey. It's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
So step number 1, do not judge yourself for not having orgasms in the way, I don't know, I guess pop culture and porn say women are supposed to have orgasms. If you don't have them that way, you don't have them that way. That's fine. And you can stop pretending that you do and simply explain to your partner, I learned this thing. Of course, if you've been in a relationship of any duration and you've been faking it the whole time, there is the difficult conversation of, I've been faking it this whole time.
Right. So don't even start, if you can avoid it.
Yeah. If you can not begin with faking it, that would be so much better, which is why learning about how your orgasms actually work is so helpful, because then your partner can be like, what's taken so long? And you can be like, you know what? Only about a quarter of women are reliably orgasmic from this kind of stimulation. And I am not one of them. But I can tell you some other things that really work for me.
And I don't know if it can change because I wasn't. It
does change.
I get off almost every time I have vaginal intercourse with my current partner, but I haven't always been like that, and so I've had to bring in toys and other things. It's changed throughout my life.
Got to bring in toys.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to have an orgasm during vaginal penetration and you are not one of those people, add stimulation to the clitoris, whether it's your hand, your partner's hand, a toy that you hold, a toy that your partner holds, a toy that you brace between your 2 pubic bones. You can just ride your partner and grind your pubic bone against their pubic bone. There's so many different ways to have it happen. But also it doesn't matter because you can just have orgasm from clitoral stimulation, but different people's body parts fit together in different ways. The Kama Sutra kind of tries to talk about this, but it is actually true that different people's bodies fit together in different ways. There's a couple of hypotheses about why anybody actually would have an orgasm from vaginal stimulation, because neuroanatomically, it doesn't make a lot of sense. There's not a lot of nerve endings in the vagina. So what we think is happening is a newer hypothesis is that so you've probably seen the larger clitoris structure with the legs. There's the little out external part and these big legs on the inside that straddle the urethra and the vagina. And the idea is those swell up when you're aroused, just like a penis swells up when it's aroused. And for some people with some kinds of stimulation, they can actually stimulate those internal parts of the clitoris through the walls of the vagina. So it's not even vaginal orgasms. It's still clitoral orgasms, clitoris stimulated through the walls of the vagina.
I 100% love that and totally agree. I mean, I had a partner where I had an orgasm most of the time when I was on top. Our bodies just fit together. We were like puzzle pieces. And it was vaginal, but I knew that it was coming from the clitoral stimulation of the way that our pubic bones, touched and fit together, and it was just it was a perfect fit. And I was this isn't just because it's penetration. It's really probably also hitting those legs.
It's the whole thing.
And it's the next guy I had sex with after that, try to get on top and do the same thing. It just didn't work. It was just our bodies weren't fitting together in the right way.
So you just got to find a different thing that works for your particular partnership. And there's another hypothesis, the original G-spot hypothesis. So when, never going to forget this. So if you imagine that the vulva is a face and your mouth is the vagina, the nose is the urethra, and then I have a widow's peak. The widow's peak is where the clitoris is, right at the line of your forehead. You're never gonna there's a thing called a clownometer for educators. How much of a fool are you willing to make of yourself in order to get a point across? All the way, as far as it can go. So the idea is that the urethra, which is your nose, deep inside where your sinuses are, the equivalent is a thing called the urethral sponge, which also swells up around the urethra. And you can actually stimulate that urethral sponge through the upper wall of the vagina, and that can result in orgasm. So it's not direct clitoral stimulation. It's it's actually the female homologue in the way the clitoris is the homologue of the penis. This is the homologue of the prostate. And not every person with a prostate has orgasms from prostate stimulation, but we don't like judge or shame people who don't have orgasms from prostate stimulation, right? Right? Like, it's not a failing. It's just like, if they can do it, that's cool. That's fun. That's a different path of pleasure for them. Congratulations. And so there are some people with a urethral sponge who have orgasms from that kind of stimulation. For some people, that kind of stimulation just makes them feel like they need to pee. For some people, it can actively hurt. For some people, it doesn't feel like anything in particular. People vary. But some people might find that they experience orgasm some of the time from pressure against the urethral sponge where it swells against the wall of the vagina.
I think this is just such a good example of how we're all like so completely different. Like, can be complete opposites, you know? So, but this is also probably where, I don't want to say it's hard for men, but like the men that want to pleasure a woman, right? Like, they're like, but you guys are all so different, you know, like, how am I supposed to know? You know, my girlfriend before this, she had this, and like, that's where you kind of have to come in as the person to tell them what your body needs. Cause I want to live in a world where a man who has like been in a relationship with one person for a long time and has really like mastered that person's genitals can, like, that relationship ends and they grieve and they move into a phase where they can start interacting with other people's genitals, where they know ahead of time, like, I mastered those genitals because I paid really close attention and I listened to my partner. And that does not mean I am now an expert in every pussy. It means I'm an expert in that pussy, and I know how to become an expert in every other pussy I may have the privilege to encounter. Yeah.
But like, wouldn't it be great if, like, the first time you're with somebody, they're like, so, like, we're meeting for the first time, your genitals and I, and like, I want us to have a get to know ya. I want to take her out to dinner. I want to find out all about her. I want you to tell me the things you like. And I'm not here to give you an orgasm right now. I'm just here to, like, explore what pleasure looks like for you. Now, I know there are people who actually would feel like deeply self-conscious. They feel more comfortable just having the sex than they do talking about the sex, even with the same person. And that's just, people vary. But man, when you can get to a place where you're like, hello, meet my pussy.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be so like explicit and awkward, you know, like, and it doesn't have to happen. Like, I've had sex with guys on first dates and like, maybe that wasn't the time, but like the next, you know, now the next date, it's like, hey, so tell me like what you're into. It could be sexier than like, meet my vagina, ask her questions, you know, you're doing like an interview. So
I think that is sexy. I think it's totally, so people vary tremendously in what they like. And I'm not saying that anybody needs to have like my style of doing it, because if your style is like, pussy has some things she wants to say to you. Like, whatever. Like, I don't do whatever you want to. But for me, play and laughter and like a lightheartedness, not taking it too seriously. Like, people get very stuck in making sure they're doing it right. And making sure they are following the script that they were taught is like the order of operations, and like things are happening the way they have been told it is supposed to work. And if things fall short, it feels like there's so much at stake. There's literally nothing at stake.
Yeah.
It's just like the people choosing to play a game together. There's nothing at stake in the way there's nothing at stake when you play Scrabble.
100%. And I'm the first to say, like, have a one night stand, have sex on a first date, do whatever you want. Ashley and I have done that plenty of times in our lives, and that's great. Do what feels right to you. But one of the things we actually talked about with the editor-in-chief of Cosmo in conjunction with a study they did with the Kinsey Institute was people waiting a little bit longer to have sex. And how nice is it when you have sex with somebody and you trust them a little bit more and you've talked to them and you feel safe. And so the first time you do have sex, it isn't so weird to start having those conversations. The first time I had sex with my boyfriend, it was bad. It was like really bad. And both of us, I remember in the middle of it, I was like, do you want to keep doing this?
That's amazing. I love that.
But we stopped, and we were already comfortable with each other. We had talked for a long time, for weeks on end before we had sex with each other. And so the second time around, which was that night, I was able to say, okay, I don't like this thing. Try this thing. And I felt comfortable because I knew him, you know? And I think that that's the great thing about sleeping with somebody that you know a little bit better.
How amazing that it only took like a few hours for you to get to a point where you could be like, this thing you're doing, I don't love it.
Yeah.
And he was interested enough in your pleasure to be like, I will try something else. Let's try something else.
What man wants to hear, like, do you want to keep doing this?
Many, many moons ago, I had a partner who he was one of those, like, I mastered my last partner's pussy, and so now I am the master of the pussy. And apparently his last partner's pussy liked exactly the opposite kind of things that mine does. And so he would, like, do the things that worked for her. And I'd be like, cool, no.
Yeah.
Here's what I like. And then the next time he'd do the same thing again. Cool. No, I know that's what worked before. And I'm going to need you to remember that it took half a dozen times and ultimately me crying and saying, when you do it that way, it makes me feel like you're wishing you were with her instead of me. And like, it was genuine.
Cry.
But like it took crying for me to get the point across that it's not just that you're doing it in a way that doesn't work for me. You're doing it in a way that indicates to me that you are stuck in a script you spoke with someone else. She's not here now. There's a reason for that.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Welcome.
So is there anything, like, we kind of talked on a big picture things you can do of like improving your feelings about your body and like it within the chore play, things like that. But is there anything you suggest that's kind of not like a quick fix, but like self-talk or anything when you're just like, I've got to try to remove some of these factors that are pushing on the brake?
Yeah, I'm going to avoid saying mindfulness as much as I possibly can because I know it's a very annoying answer, even though mindfulness is super good for you. And if you're a person for whom mindfulness feels like a good fit, there's a great book called Better Sex Through Mindfulness by Lori Brotto, Lori, Brotto, Brotto. It's really wonderful. And it can be great. But I would say, so first, get you like a basic list of things that activate your accelerator and things that hit your brakes, and then consider the context, because it is a reality that the way our brains interpret a sensation depends on the situation in which that sensation is happening. Like, I have literally had this story told to me. My partner swatted me on the ass and said, hey, do you want to have sex tonight? When I was wrist deep in baby poop trying to get the kid ready to go to daycare so that I could go to this conference where I'm having this conversation with you, Emily Nagoski. Could you please tell my husband that how my brain interprets a sensation depends on the context, and wrist deep in baby poop is not a context where I'm going to say yes to sex. So think about, like, what are the contexts where I've had like amazing sex? And there are worksheets. You can find them on my website. They're in the book. They're adapted in the new edition of Come As You Are to be gender inclusive. So there's no mention of like hormones or anything like that. And when you have a sense of like, what's the context where my accelerator is like on full blast and my brake is freed up? Hotel sex tends to, or like vacation sex, because like all the things that are hitting your brakes, you are physically removed from the dishes and the laundry and whatever kids there might be. And just, I mean, even just the room of your bedroom where all those old memories live, you just extract yourself from that. You go to a strange place and you're freed up. I talked to a woman who took a Mediterranean vacation every year. She, her husband, and her 3 kids. And they would stay at this ancient house on the Mediterranean. And they, husband and wife, great vacation sex. And then one year they went to the same town, but that particular house wasn't available. So they just rented a different house. Different house, same town, not so great vacation sex. And they did this really thoughtful thing. They're like, okay, so what was the difference between this year and all the other years in that house? And they realized that in that ancient Mediterranean house, the bed was literally built into the wall. Like it was a stone platform built into the wall down to the floor, which means there was no noise, no bouncing, no banging, thus no worry about waking up the kids, being interrupted. Don't have to worry about being quiet. And like that little difference was all it took to free up their brakes so that they could enjoy the sex that they were having. And so literally when it came time for them to build a house for themselves, they built the bed into the wall.
I love that. So are you saying kind of getting the guy with the kids? So are you saying to kind of figure out what these things are and try to bring them into daily life? Because you can't always just be like, we're going on vacation because we got to fuck, you know? So like,
but also sometimes you can just be like, we're going to have to wait until we go on vacation because there is nothing I can get away from. Like, I look at the things that are hitting my brakes right now. We cannot get away from this shit until we get away from our lives. Like, that's normal too. But sort of a typical mindfulness teacher or like sex therapist might say, well, in the moment when the sex is not going great, like, can you just notice sort of what's happening and let go of the brakes? It's very much that, like, you should be able to not be distracted by the sound. You should be able to notice in the moment what's going wrong. Sometimes you cannot notice in the moment what's going wrong. It's actually remarkable and admirable that you could be in the middle of some like meh sex and be like, let's pause, try something else.
Yeah, and sometimes is it just, I mean, listen, this is an easier thing said than done, but sometimes is the break the partner that you're with. Like some people, and I had this with somebody who I was engaged to, we just never had sex. I didn't like it. And it wasn't because I was suddenly an asexual person. It was that he wasn't the right partner for me.
Yeah.
So it was time to not be with that person, you know? And I think that it's a hard thing to accept, but you know, sometimes it just is that like the relationship has gone past its expiration date and you're not going to ever feel that for that person. And that's a hard pill to swallow, but I never would have felt sexually desirable towards that person ever again.
Yeah.
And so that was the answer.
That was not the right person for you. And it's also the case that sometimes sex can be great for a while and then like kind of go away. I have had this experience where like, I mean, with this partner who is so great, the irony of writing a book about sex is you're thinking and talking about sex all day, every day. And you're so stressed that you have no interest in actually having any sex. So like sex went away for me for a while there. Okay. And like, I know all the things, I know how to fix it. And I would follow my own advice, you know, like set a time, schedule it, show up, put your body in the bed, let your skin touch your partner's skin and your bodies will go, oh, right. I like this. I like this person. I would try that. I would get in the bed. I would let my skin touch my partner's skin. And I was so exhausted and stressed out. I would just cry and fall asleep. Like sometimes it is just not there. And like feelings built up over the course of this dry spell. And there was a time when I worried, like, are we ever going to be able to get back to it? And yeah, we definitely were. And that's what my next book is about, is how we did that, including a whole lot of brain science that I'm very excited finally to be able to share. But if you just freaking love your partner, and you're like, this is the right partner for me, but just our sex life is meh. Like you can find your way back to each other. The couples who sustain a strong sexual connection over the long term are not the ones who constantly can't wait to put their tongues in each other's mouths. They're the ones who, even though like distance grows between them, they can always find their way back to each other eventually.
How does that usually happen? I mean, is time some of it? Like, I know there's no secret weapon,
time,
but
patience, non-judgment. And there's a difference between solving the actual sex stuff and managing all the feelings that have built up around the sex stuff. Like each of us was starting to feel lonely and isolated and worried about our compatibility and like little pieces of like resentful and abandoned and like all these difficult feelings. And I use this very ridiculous metaphor in Come As You Are of difficult feelings as sleepy hedgehogs. So if you have this difficult feeling in your relationship, imagine it that it's like a little sleepy hedgehog curled up in the middle of your bed. And how are you supposed to get into bed with your certain special someone if there's a sleepy hedgehog in the middle of it? So you have to like deal with each one at a time. And ours was like crowded with little sleepy hedgehogs who all needed to be dealt with. Like we would get to the, like, you show up, you put your body in the bed and there's all these difficult feelings. And so we would have to process those. And gradually, as we like addressed those difficult feelings, we cleared more and more space for us to be able to connect with each other, which it takes skill.
Yeah.
To like have that communication, non-judgment, the ability to accept what's true of the other person and free your idea of how sex is supposed to work and just notice how it actually does work for this particular set of people.
And this might be too personal of a question you don't have to answer, but are we talking like months or like years?
It depends how you count, but we would go months at a time with no sex.
Okay. Which I think is
multiple sets of months at a time.
We hear that all the time.
Yeah.
But, you know, you also hear about people who are like, we haven't had sex in 3 years. It's like,
yeah.
Is there a future there? I don't know.
Yeah,
So.
there absolutely is. There are couples who seek sex therapy finally, who are like, we haven't had sex for 5 years. We haven't had sex for 10 years.
Wow.
Like we haven't had sex since the kids were born. Is there coming back from that? Yeah, there's great effective therapy. Yes.
Right.
And the only reason we didn't do therapy is because I am who I am and know the things I know.
You're like,
and have a partner who's like, so what do you know about this? What do we need to be doing? And
You're
he
like,
has
I'm
like
the therapist.
great communication skills.
Great.
And yeah, he was very present. And he's like a lovely human being who doesn't assume he is entitled to anything he wants. He doesn't take it personally when sex doesn't happen when and how he expects it to, which is super important. I have an extra good dude.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear. Of course
Shout
you
out
do.
to him.
Yeah.
We love him. He's great.
Yeah, we love him. We've been
Great
talking to him.
to work with. Yeah.
I love that you said, I think you talked about in your TED Talk of like knowing what's true. Did we cover that?
Yeah. So confidence
Okay.
and joy. I say that these are the two keys to having a great sex life: confidence and joy. Confidence is knowing what is true, knowing about your brakes and accelerator, knowing how arousal works, knowing how desire works. Arousal is chapter 6, desire is chapter 7. Knowing what's true about your relationship, knowing what's true about your relationship with your own body, your history of trauma, neglect, or abuse. Knowing that the lights hit your brakes. And so confidence is just being like, nope, let's not turn on the lights because I know that's true for me. And joy is the hard part. Joy is loving what is true, even when it's not what you were taught to expect to be true, even when it's not what you wish were true. Knowing what's true about your arousal, your desire, your orgasms. Like if you're a person who's just not going to have orgasms from vaginal stimulation, even though like everybody has always told you that's how you're supposed to do it, like really embracing your body as it is and being like, my clitoris is 2 turntables and a microphone. It's where it's at. Like my clitoris is the best. I love my clitoris. And if you're not super into the idea of us creating orgasms together with my clitoris and not through my vagina, then I don't know that you can joyfully celebrate my body with me. Right? So joy is the hard part because it means letting go of the possibility that your body will ever be the body everyone has been telling you it's supposed to be.
Well, Joy is my middle name, so
I have an East
comes
named Joy.
naturally. I'm kidding.
Not an East
It is
named
my
Joy.
middle name,
God,
though.
I have a cousin named Joy.
Okay. I love that. Confidence and joy. I'm glad we've got to end on that because I loved it from your TED Talk. So I'm glad we wrapped up with that.
Yeah. I am sure everybody's going to want to find you. And obviously your books are everywhere books are sold. But please tell people where they can find you on Instagram, your website. You mentioned the workbooks that you have on your website. So everywhere that people can find you.
So EmilyNagoski.com is my website. There is very soon going to be like a big newsletter situation happening. So you can sign up and be ready for that. Go to the website and sign up there. I'm on Instagram at eNagoski, but that's mostly pictures of my dogs.
Love that.
We like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then do you have a upcoming book or is that not like something that there's like
So there's Come As You Are, which is new and updated. Get the one with the
new
red
updated,
banners
yes.
at the top and the bottom, red, not yellow. The Come As You Are workbook. There's worksheets available on the website, but there's a whole workbook of like 60 plus where if you're like, I don't care about the affective neuroscience, just tell me what to do. Workbook is for you. There's burnout, and which is about stress. So if you're finding that stress is a significant thing getting in the way of your access to ecstasy, maybe think about burnout. And then I am working on a new book, but it is too early for me to tell you about.
Okay, well, at least we got a little teaser.
The inside scoop.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, thank you for this. This was really insightful and wonderful. Our listeners have wanted to hear from you for quite some time, so we're excited that we finally linked up.
Me too. It was so much fun.
Thank you for everything.
Bye. And you guys know where to find us, girlsgottaeatpodcast.com for all the things. Get tickets to our shows. We have tickets left in Atlanta, Charlotte, and Charleston. Those shows are coming up soon, so grab those tickets, grab our merchandise, and sign up for the newsletter. You can also follow us on Instagram at Girls Gotta Eat Podcast. I am Ash Hess on Instagram. Rayna is Rayna.Greenberg, girls_gotta eat on Twitter, and youtube.com/girlsgottaeat. And that's it for us. We'll see you guys soon on the road.
Have a good week, guys.
Bye.